And welcome back to the SPL. It's John Finch here. I've got Ryan Agro Bailey, the guy you just saw talk to you for like 30 minutes, and now we're back to doing the regular SPL.
It was a normal spot. It wasn't even that long.
Yeah, that's just how all talks with you go. It's just you talking at me. It feels like, it's kind of just how it is.
I'm just trying to teach you something, and you could learn a thing or two.
Yeah, learn a thing or two from this guy. Well, moving into our very next set, then, it's going to be Dignitas going up against SK, and this one I'm expecting to be a pretty good match. Dignitas are certainly the favorites going into it, but SK showed me some upside potential. I think they're right outside that top tier, like that top 4 that's up there, but with a chance to strike at any moment against any of them.
Absolutely. I think they are competing for the top of the middle of the pack, if you will say, with the United. I think those are the two teams that are trying to burst the bubble, per se, of that top 4. And SK certainly has the tools to do it. I think this is going to be a really interesting match because SK's strength, the early game, matches up nicely against Dignitas' weakness, the early game. So Dignitas has to have done some work in that early game and work out how to not fall as far behind. They've ended up winning a ton of games where they fall far behind, but if SK can get a lead, hold it, and for the love of God, secure a fire giant against Dignitas, then I think SK could have a lot of success.
I think so, too. It's just not going to be easy, man. This Dignitas squad is just so stacked from top to bottom. And I think the really big story, the same with Rival, is the way that their mid laner has adapted here. Now they've got Hurriwind in the middle lane, and coming into the season, I'm like, okay, so they put Ataraxia over in the Hunter role instead of like maybe Arkle. Fine. That's fine. Variety, we all know he's excellent. Top tier solo laner. QvoFred, first or second best player in the world. Trixtank, top tier support. How well is Hurriwind going to be able to mesh in with this European team, and when he's never really been, I feel like, that much of a star player himself? Well, that question's been answered, man. Like 8 weeks in a row, Hurriwind has come out and absolutely looked good.
Yeah, Hurry, I mean, I think he's been a star in the mid lane for North America for a while. It's just that it's been on a couple teams where defensiveness has been their prime sort of play style. Looking at CLG last year, it's Soar, a couple before that. I mean, those are the kind of teams that he's been on in the past, and this is the first team where I think the Dignitas is willing to take more opportunities and take really good fights in the late game, even if they're behind. And that's where Hurriwind has really shined. He plays his early game gods pretty well as well. I mean, he's got the Zeus, he's got the AMC, and things like that can set them up for early success. And as much as we talk about how Dignitas has fallen behind in some games, I think that's just kind of the default analysis we've gone for them, because they've been winning so much, but they haven't dominated every single game. They've dominated most games, but there have been games where they've been losing, and so we just kind of default to those, but don't think that Dignitas can't win the early game.
No, not at all. They have plenty of potential for it. And I think what makes this team so scary is they already have so much trust in Hurry, man. They've really left him to his own devices in a lot of situations. QvoFred has been all over the map being aggressive. So is Trixtank. Those two players, I feel like, in particular, have had a bit of a resurgence here so far in Season 6, which is hard to say with QvoFred is how good he's been in Season 5.
I know.
But you know what I mean? It just feels like a new breath of air has been breathed into those guys. And Trixtank really in particular, they're able to play with so much freedom. They're all over the place all the time, being so aggressive. And it's made life easier for her, when I imagine, to be able to play with guys like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like PandaCat has been able to thrive in an environment where his front line is playing really, really well. PBM and Final K have been playing great on Rival. Trixtank and Variety have been playing at an incredibly high level for Dignitas. Qvo as well has been right on top of that. Ataraxia, I think, has had his best individual season ever so far. Everyone is just working, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. I don't think that that's I don't think it's going to fall off or anything like that.
No.
I think these 5 guys and their personalities and the way they think about the game and the way that they play the game all just tend to mesh really, really well together.
Well, I've always thought of Dignitas, whatever their inclinations, this team that does really well in like the regular season, and when we get to the lands, they struggle. Where it's all been lands this time, so hey, maybe they don't even have to
great.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about that concern now, right? It won't even be that big of a shift for those guys. Hopefully they'll be able to get over that mental hurdle. We can get a better idea, though, of exactly where their mental state is by going over to the interview. Should be Ataraxia standing by.
Thank you from the desk. I'm here with NeilMah, Ataraxia, the hunter for Team Dignitas. Nate, you guys are 5-0 thus far. Has anyone given you the most difficulty, and if so, who was that opponent?
For me, it was definitely Splice. I think in retrospect, I think Splice played better on the day. Obviously, we won the set, so we shouldn't take that away from ourselves, but they definitely ran the early game and really exposed the weakness that we had.
We're in week number 8 thus far in the SPL. How have the weeks kind of differed your preparation and also the meta? Is there anything different that you've noticed from week to week?
Things change pretty fast, I think, because of how teams scrim partner and how you can't play against certain people, and then when they do, they figure stuff out. So it's actually been quite difficult to keep on the ball with the meta, and you have to do a lot of predictions. I guess you have to figure out who's scrimming who because they've already played each other, and if this team like this pick that's worked, maybe this other team does it. So it's quite mental in keeping up with that. So hopefully we've done our predictions for this set correctly, and it should help us.
So despite being 5-0 thus far, some of the games were not entirely clean. How have you kind of altered your early game to adjust today?
Yeah, I think our early game has been a bit of a problem for us, which is quite worrying because SK, I would say, are the best early game team, at least in scrims, and I think it's just a matter of time until they convert that to the SPL. So that's what we've been working on. Biggie is very, very good at exposing weaknesses for teams and how to play against them. So he's been prepping us for this set, so we have 2 weeks to do it. So hopefully we fix that, and hopefully we'll put on a good show.
Thank you again, Nate, for your time. That's it for us. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Toli. And it's always good to get a chance to hear there from Ataraxia. He recognized clearly that the early game is a point of contention. But I do want to highlight on one other thing he said, where you got to be a bit predictive because of the way the scrim culture is. Yeah. And up against SK, that can be really tough. I mean, these guys can play just about anything.
Yeah, they're willing to do a lot of different things. And for me, with SK, it's a little bit less about the picks that they'll do, though they are unpredictable there sometimes, and more about the way that they're going to play.
Yeah, where's Neil going to be, right?
Exactly. Neil has been kind of one of the forefathers of this I'm the support and I'm just kind of running at you now sort of idea in the early game. And so I think that that's the bigger thing, is how well can Dignitas adjust with what SK is going to be doing in the early game.
And that's where some of that preparation you heard Ataraxia mentioning from Biggie is going to be critical. Yeah. Because if they don't adjust in time, then SK is absolutely the team that's going to punish you. That duo that I'm thinking of, Sam for Soccer and Paul, if they smell some blood in the water, those guys are going to go right to it, especially Paul, man. Remember, this guy came up from the SML, and I was one of the ones that was really vocally worried that some of his SML strats wouldn't transfer over. But not only did those work, turns out he's really good at playing the normal stuff too. He's just good at Smite all around. I think it's been a bit of a drop-off for him in Season 6 so far from where I've been sitting. He hasn't looked quite as much as like the legends tell, but I think that upside potential is always there for him. And even when he's maybe not at, godlike proportions like he was in this clip, to prove me wrong, then he's still a really solid mid laner for your team. You're really never going wrong as long as Paul's on your squad.
Yeah, 58 and 23 is a pretty good kill death spread. Yeah, that's pretty solid. Look, I agree with you. I think the general public perception is that Paul has not been as good as we expected. And I think that Paul would probably agree with that he has pretty high expectations for himself.
Sure.
I mean, I was saying last year that if he continues at this meteoric rise, he could be the best mid laner in the league as early as this year. That hasn't come to fruition yet, but I still feel like it's a yet for him.
Yes.
I mean, this has still been impressive from him overall. I do think that SK, as they get stronger at the later stages of the game and they get better at team fighting and working against the enhanced Fire Giant and their siege opportunities, that Paul is going to continue to grow.
And really, part of the reason why I thought this was such an important point is because there was all this mid lane shakeup. And there's a chance for someone like Paul to really be able to come in here in Season 6 and just kind of put the screws to some of these new guys like Panda Cat, right? Or someone like that who's adjusting to the role. Turns out Panda Cat's looking pretty darn good, so maybe that wasn't as big a story as I thought it was. And Paul is just going to have to try and find a way to break through now an even more crowded mid lane field with strong guys in there that maybe we didn't expect. So far, he's looked good, but it's really not just him, man. I mean, this SK squad is stacked from top to bottom with talent from the solo lane. I mean, truly, even all the way over to the support role as well. Neil is one that can look pretty strong for this squad as well. And from my understanding, we have NeilMah standing nearby here for the interview, so let's get it over to Toli to talk to him.
Thank you from the desk. I'm here with NeilMah, the support out of SK Gaming. You guys haven't played since week 4, your last matchup against Luminosity. How has that affected your scrim schedules and preparation against Dig?
I've had a lot of time to prepare for Dig and a lot of time off, so that means there's a lot of time to try new things, try new starts, try new picks and bans. I think it'll be interesting. On the one hand, you get the time off, that's kind of nice. On the other hand, though, not being able to play every week is a little bit boring, but hopefully we come up with some new stuff today, and the time off helped us.
Speaking of new stuff, between weeks 1 through 8, how have you noticed the meta evolve throughout the weeks?
Well, definitely it seems like almost every week a new start is being found. It's kind of been dictated by the mid-patch with the Spirit minion change in dual lane. So at first people were going back to dual lane. Now people are kind of starting wherever. But I think you can kind of start wherever you want. There's a lot of different starts to do, so it's really interesting right now. It's kind of you have to be really adaptive in the early game because there's a lot of different stuff that can happen. You have to be ready for it.
Speaking of being adaptive, against Team Dignitas, a team that's currently 5-0, how do you go into preparing against a team such as this? Are they similar to other teams that you've played against, or do they bring their own individual unique style that you've adapted for today?
I think they're a really complete team. They have some really strong players like Trix and Qvo who can play really strongly aggressive in the early game. You have Hurriwind, who's really good late game. And a lot of their games end up going late and going to 5 games. So I think they're a little bit different than most teams we play because they can play multiple styles. But I think they're definitely beatable. So I think today we'll be coming out strong.
Confident words from NeilMah. Thank you again for your time. Best of luck today. Back to you at the desk.
Always good to hear from Neil as well. He said Dignitas is beatable. Well, let the other 5 teams they've played know that, because they haven't been able to do it so far. But I guess if you're going into a match against them, you got to believe it. And I think he's right. They haven't looked infallible, I think is really the point that he's making, right? Is that there are some points there to expose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that SK is primed to do it. Yeah. I think his point that they've had 5 weeks to set up for this match, and they knew that this was going to be their next matchup. They knew they were playing against Dignitas, and so they've watched everything that Dig has done. That's plenty of time to watch all 5 of their sets multiple different times through and try and identify some weaknesses that they might be able to exploit.
And Neil is the one, and you could hear the way he was talking about that early game. It almost feels like a Neil's kind of early game, doesn't it? Where you can just be kind of anywhere on the map, and he's so willing to sacrifice himself for the team to do better. And if you're struggling and I'm struggling, well, then my team's winning because you know what I mean? He's so okay with that mentality and willing to get the maximum amount of value out of that. So it's going to be real interesting to see what he does with this start. Let's go and get those picks and bans going, and it'll be Dignitas in the first pick spot.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this picks and bans. I think it'll be a little bit more Jormungandr focused.
Let's hope.
Because both of these teams, I think, have that in their repertoire. Certainly Dignitas should have it, being playing a lot against Pittsburgh Knights in the past, seeing that come to fruition against them. Trixtank tried to play in support a little bit, I believe, as well. Yeah. So we'll see if Dig want to go that route, but already the Xbalanque ban is pretty standard.
Yeah, so far these bans are pretty standard. The Xbalanque and the King Arthur out of there. I feel like we haven't said Variety's name enough in all this lead up, right? I mean, we saw Deathwalker play earlier. We saw Benji play earlier. We saw FineOK play earlier. If we're going to close out those top tier solo laners, I mean, Variety's would be like right there up there with them on your list. So it's good to see him come in and what impact he'll have up against Belair.
Hercules as a throwaway ban is interesting here for Dignitas. I mean, that is definitely a shot at NeilMah, I'm guessing. And just kind of reading into what he said during his pregame interview, I wonder if they think that SK and Rival have been scrimming a lot, and they just watched Rival pick the Hercules support and try and go for this, and they're trying to extrapolate that maybe SK think it's good as well.
Right, try and eliminate some of that early aggression. That could be difficult to deal with, man. I mean, especially if it is the 2v2 in solo start. If you can have 2 warriors over there, or even like a warrior assassin, like if you go for an assassin support or something like that, I feel like it just makes your 2v2 so much better. Those gods naturally good at fighting like that anyway. They already want to, and those matchups in particular can be strong. As SK has to hesitate. With the Hercules ban here, I mean, you still have to worry about Merlin on the table, right? You still have to worry about Freya still being out there to pick up too. There's a lot of good stuff that SK aren't so sure that they want to give away, and they got to make sure they're careful with this ban.
Achilles as well. The good news is you're getting 2 of those. It's just a matter of which you want to ban. And I was going to say, I think it might be Achilles that they're leaning towards. Variety has commanded a lot of respect from teams in picks and bans. And so keeping him off of 2 of his most comfortable gods is something that I can respect, but may not necessarily agree with. Merlin for Hurriwind, it's really, really spooky.
The immediate Osiris response. So maybe this isn't just a Rival and Knights thing. Maybe Osiris really has kind of come back up for some of these top tier solo laners as a strong pick. I mentioned that Freya was one more to consider, but with the Jingwei not taken away, that's an easy pick into that matchup. So Freya gets prioritized here. Dig very likely to snap that Jingwei in response.
Yeah, Ataraxia has been playing Jingwei since the day she came out.
I mean, into any matchup,
That's his type of hunter, so he wouldn't be too upset about taking that for himself if that's exactly where Zapman wants to go. Instead, you won't go Jing or for Freya. It'll be the Hachiman instead. The Hachi is still very safe.
Yes.
Mounted archery, good. Not as good as airstrike, but still very good at getting you out of pickles. But it does let you be a little bit more aggressive when you do get in the lead. And so this gives SK a bit of a better backline dive as well. Belair is going to be in the thick of the fight pretty consistently. Hachiman's mounted archery and Eagle Eye and Heavenly Banner are pretty long-range abilities that can help him out.
I wonder how much this little mini break they've had in the season is like the break they had at the start of the season, because Zapman coming off the break on week 1 looked like old Zapman, getting doubles and solo kills and lane and stuff like that. I wonder if we're going to get that refreshed, reset Zapman coming in on Hachiman and looking real aggressive here in lane. We'll have our chance to see, as Dignitas now the ones on the clock and looking to respond. Like we said, Freya's still on the table and perhaps looking even better now that you're not picking it into the Jingwei matchup. Still some other strong stuff out there though to consider too. Fafnir Draupnir comes to mind, a strong Guardian you might want to grab for yourself. Still, we have not yet seen Jormungandr prioritized amongst these squads, so that's another one that might be worth grabbing here too. A lot for Dignitas to try and consider.
Ratatoskr still on the table for QvoFred. That's a pick that he's liked a lot so far. He also seems to either like the Ratatoskr or the hyper late games, the Kalis and things of that nature that they could switch it up to. So he's got some options available to him. Really, the draft is really wide open still for Dignitas. They've only made one selection, but I'm surprised it's taken them so long to make their choices. Usually, you would think that they're coming into game one at least with a pretty solid game plan and an expectation of what SK is going to do.
I am pretty surprised that they've moved through them slow, but take some time to think about it. It's just they're using a lot of the bank early here on trying to decide where it is they want to go with these picks. The Bellona is going to be their first pick in a world where there is no Achilles and no King Arthur, often considered a very strong solo laner in her own right, and then the Najah to round it out. So finally Najah getting a little bit of love here today as he'll be picked up, and I gotta think this one's probably going over Trixtank. He's played the aggressive support quite well, so why not give it to him again? Yeah,
it could be for Trix or Qvo, and I like that flexibility right away in a draft. I mean, Merlin and Bellona, we know where those two are going for sure, but Najah has that bit of flex potential.
Sure.
Something for SK to keep in mind, though I imagine with Hachiman locked in, they'll be looking to ban out some good gods that Ataraxia could play. Things like Jingwei and Freya would be easy bans, I think, from here.
A Raijin locked in, and this is something Paul very much likes to play, but he can't play that Hobwa. In fact, here in Season 6, I would venture to guess Raijin's been his most played god. He's really felt comfortable on this pick. We'll see if he can turn out that maximum value, like someone like a Tings, who also very much likes to play this pick here in this game. It can give him a lot of early presence, too. Even just Percussive Storm and Raiju is so much damage in the matchup, it can feel difficult to even walk up to the wave against him.
Yes, especially with a character like Merlin, who does have some level of escape. Flicker's good, but not great at getting you out of danger. So you can find yourself hit with the Raiju, and then you flicker, but you're still slowed from Raiju, and then Raijin is all over you, and you insta-die. So Hurriwind does need to be very wary of how aggressive Paul is going to be playing, because Paul almost certainly will be playing aggressively. That's just his playstyle.
That is just how Paul plays, and so he's always done it. I wonder then if SK are planning to go a little bit more control heavy on the second half of the draft, because while Taiko drums can be some good control with the taunt, with the fear, whatever it is your team needs, you really would like if you can get that damage out of it, I'd imagine. So maybe some nice setup gods to kind of round this out with this draft could be nice, because Dig already have the Najah, who that's why he gets played in support so often, is he's got plenty of setup in his own right.
Rat and Robin, the two bans by SK. Two gods that Qvo does like very much, but Robin very much a Sam for soccer god at the same time.
Sure.
Dignitas can now take another jungler off the board, but instead they're going to hit onto NeilMah with that Terra selection. Terra very good at those level 1 fights because she can stun you and slow you with her auto attack, so trying to keep that out of Neil's hands is pretty intelligent.
That's exactly why I think they're banning that one out. They're afraid of what Neil can do early. Their Serqet comes through, and I'm not 100% sold that this might be for Sam. I think likely it is, but there's still some flex potential there, as two assassins are banned out by SK, taking a bit of an eye towards QvoFred, who might be considering a Hobwa in the jungle then, and all your physical assassin bans might have been a bit wasted there.
I like this Serqet pick, if only because it's keeping out of Qvo's hands. I mean, that's the big thing. Is Qvo's Serqet is it's a work of art in motion. It really is. So getting him off that selection, the Hobwa he really likes and has done pretty well on it, though he does like to go for a very slow build most of the time, if I remember correctly. With the Thoth. Is Artemis the hunter of choice here for Ataraxia?
Is that her first pick? I think so, at least based on the numbers that are showing there.
Yeah. Ooh, it is Serqet support. Great call, Finch. Yeah, so you've got some really good aggressive. This is an aggressive composition. Sam likes to play this. Mercury is a big setup god in the early game, as he's designed to be in the early stages. The Bellona, Najah, and Hobwa are going to be pretty difficult to fight into in the actual fighting, but you can outclear these gods pretty well with the Osiris, Serqet, and Mercury, I think, and end up taking some fights that maybe you might not be able to win normally, and actually end up winning it with Osiris, Mercury, and Serqet. This is going to be an absolute brawl in the early game, it feels like.
And this is scary, too. Serqet likes to get that blink if she can. I don't know if Mercury's going to be able to do it either. Not against this comp. The knockups, the sashes, the boar.
Tons of CC.
A ton of control to have to worry about. So SK might be a bit limited in that regard. We'll see how this early game shakes out. That could very well determine game one. Let's get this one over to the casters.
Thanks a lot there, John. Thanks a lot there, Aggro. It's Tom and Taco here bringing you the business. And as far as this one's concerned, I really think that, first of all, you heard the commentators kind of focus on the early game, and that's how SK have been winning their games. So it's important for them to focus there.
Oh, this is also a very all-or-nothing kind of composition from SK. They don't really have a whole lot of opportunities, I don't think, for reinitiation here.
Sure.
They have to get in, find the backline carries, and execute. Otherwise, I think Dig is definitely going to have plenty of room for punish.
That's the key here, and when it comes down to Dignitas, that's what they do well. They punish. You're looking at Ataraxia to fire those shots, and, well, Neil, he's going to hope that people can't see him, because SK Gaming right now are certainly the underdog here.
You think Neil 200 IQ'd that one, playing Serqet with the ambush? She's got the invis, so maybe we really won't be able to see Neil going on this game.
I mean, maybe that's true. But SK Gaming, definitely the underdog here, but not by much. And I think, if I'm being pretty honest, if you poll the audience, I think the majority of people are going to say Dignitas might take the match. But I'm out here saying SK Gaming absolutely can take a game or two, and
it's hard to rule them out entirely. I think that's what you're really trying to grasp at here. And I'm right there with you, Tom. I think that both of these teams are very evenly matched when you break things down on an individual level. I think maybe the jungle is probably the only spot that I might have some question marks, because QvoFred is an all-star in my eyes, and Sam for Soccer I think still has a little bit more experience to garner. But
Sam's a superstar is all right, but he's not a Qvo level for sure.
That's the main gist of it, and I think ultimately a lot of teams as well, not even just SK exclusively, have started to realize Dignitas is going to punish you. And that is the real big story here. It is, will SK give those openings for the punish, or is their execution going to be flawless? And the problem is, for SK, they know exactly what they've gotten themselves into here.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is Team Dignitas, and it's no secret. NeilMah level 1 to Qvo's 2, but he's been doing some dirty work. Trixtank is going to prevent the rotation, and Variety will do so as well. So SK Gaming had a great look at the jungle, but Dignitas are going to collapse on top of them. NeilMah does take care of one, and that will be first blood. But Sam for Soccer goes down. QvoFred answers secondarily. Hurriwind could get collapsed on by Paul and Belair here as well. Knockup is strong, but Belair by himself surrounded by 3. Does he mind? It seems not. The rest of the team will face safety under the tower. And it's a 1-for-1 with first blood going the way of SK.
This is already starting off, though, the way that we were envisioning. SK Gaming just trying to do everything in their power to harass Qvo from his natural jungle pathway. Whenever a Havois especially, these mage junglers, you have to hit them early and you have to hit them hard. And you need to keep them down while you're at it. But Qvo, knowing better, went for the purification beads early on. I like that he chose the safety route, because it did save his life in the end.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at this composition of Mercury, Raijin, Serqet, this is a beads almost every time, even when Blink is more attractive.
Trix's sash as well from the very start of that engagement is a big part of the reason why SK Gaming were only able to find one pick at best. Had Trix missed or been a little bit off the mark, that kill onto Qvo is cleaned up much sooner because of that early rotation from Sam for Soccer and Paul. So overall, Dignitas not going to miss out too much since they were able to respond in the end, but I'm expecting Neil to probably stay hot on Qvo this entire match.
I agree. That's certainly what you're looking for. I mean, I've been singing about Hebo jungle forever, and usually the conversation I was met with was, well, since he's a mage, he's so easily invaded. He's so easy to invade. He's so easy to... And Hebo jungle has been popular now, and we just haven't seen that strat. Finally, SK kind of going for it.
I think the main reason why teams don't ever really feel comfortable with looking for the invade option at a competitive level is because whenever you go for an early game rotation, you leave your jungle open elsewhere, and if someone's able to acquire that farm from the enemy team and stay unpunished for it, like if that gank doesn't go well and SK don't find a kill there, that's a bad look for Neil. He's probably just going to wind up being a little bit behind and not the same sort of delay you were hoping.
Well, Trixtank going to get delayed here. A little bit of a sash saves. No, it doesn't. Sam for Soccer goes down anyway. And Zapman drops to Tusky. Will just barely survive. So it's a support for jungler. SK Gaming lose their aggressive player.
Oh, Zapman going for the one more wave. Ataraxia, all he wants is a single hit onto Zap. Zap's got enough sustain now, though. He'd be able to survive that Vengeful Assault, but not trying to take any chances. Gonna back off just a little bit here. I'm surprised Ataraxia didn't look to try and chase Zap harder there, though. Backed off with the wave. Gotta give respect to those minions.
Well, it's also, the jungler wasn't on the map. Zapman, you never know. Maybe he's just being Zapman. Maybe his junglers are on the corner. Excuse me, you gotta show that respect.
He's the pioneer of the one more wave syndrome, though. And it's tough when you're in Ataraxia's position to not continue chasing that one down, but I think it is because of the fact that he has so much experience as such a veteran player. He knows better and stays disciplined, whether or not it was actually going to be threatened.
One more time, Mercury finds himself in a good spot. Variety surrounded by SK Jerseys. The up-down looks good, but it will just look good. Belair with the 3rd kill for SK Gaming. Again, the 3rd assist from the jungle.
San for Soccer, I think, just trying to out-rotate Qvo, and Mercury can do that. He's able to go for the boots rush initially and still just has a little bit of an easier time, I think, getting off his clear and then being able to rotate into the waves as opposed to the Hogwa. Qvo's still a little bit too squishy with this current health bar, I think, not wanting to take many early engagements. You're expecting probably to see Qvo a little bit more so towards that level 9 peak when he can really deal some damage.
Absolutely. It's not really active. Trixtank coming in here, trying to make it work. NeilMah being taken to the sky and a whole bunch waiting for him on the bottom. More damage dealt out, though, as Trixtank survives by the skin of his teeth, and Qvo just not in position to really take advantage.
Paul didn't really have a whole lot of time to try and gamble which way Trix was actually going to head, so that last hit of the Taiko drum will miss, but SK still trying to be the initiators, and I love that because when you have a team composed of an assassin frontline, essentially, you need to be proactive.
Exactly, and you've got to be the ones making the plays if your assassin falls behind. Although Najah, one of the few assassins, I think that still makes an impact because of the fact that the ultimate literally takes you off the field for 3 seconds. That's a really big deal.
I think one thing that I'm also kind of just waiting to see how it simmers out pending on game progression, but there's a decent amount of mobility in SK Gaming's composition. Paul's probably the most susceptible one. Hold that thought, though.
Nice.
Thought Trixtank might have been looking for NeilMah for a second there. No, instead, the target's going to be on Paul, but he's able to dash away from Hurriwind's blink in.
That was really well played by the 2 guys on Dignitas. Hurriwind repeatedly looking for the Frostbolt poke and doing so. Problem is, if he walks up for the Frostbolt poke, NeilMah is going to be in range to Cobra's Kiss, and that's why Trixtank is waiting there just in case. He says, Hurriwind, look for the poke, and if you get in trouble, I'll sash.
San for Soccer and Zapman wanted to contest those oracles, but didn't feel completely comfortable understanding that both Trixtank and, well, Trixtank has his ultimate for sure. Hurriwind low on mana, but definitely still could probably bring enough burst to kill someone.
Well, here's going to need some burst as NeilMah goes down. Hurriwind on the good side, but a trade out as NeilMah and Trixtank both fall down. Oh, it's tough for supports.
This is where it can get kind of tricky, though, for SK, because they're finding picks, sure, but Dig has been finding a response almost every single time, and whenever you're going for an all-or-nothing base composition, you want to try and factor in a snowball lead of some sort. But if Dignitas are going to constantly be pulling back as much as SK are taking in, then it can be kind of tough, I think, as the mid and late game approaches for SK to continue remaining, finding those same picks, because I do feel as though the team fight potential from Dignitas is a lot smoother than that from SK.
Also, the only lead that SK had really had here was First Blood, and that's kind of negated. Dignitas wave to wave is really down to like a 200 goal differential, so nice and even pretty much. And when it comes down to Dig, you mentioned Hebo really not doing anything. Well, he does have a kill already, but you're right. Around like level 9, level 10, more of a character that, if you get a good knockup, can make it work in the early game. Level 1, level 2. But realistically, you don't even have your knockup there. You're looking for the mid game and, of course, the late game with Hebo. So Mercury off to an early start. That's all well and good. Dignitas are fine with that, understanding the amount of power they have later on.
Qvo really just kind of biding his time until he can finish off that big second item power spike. And Habwa having tons of mana from a Book of Thoth could be so potent, and just something that SK are definitely going to have to keep in the back of their minds. Mostly for Paul, though, I feel. He's going to be the real targeter. Zapman trying to play aggressive here with Ataraxia, even uses the purification beads, probably hoping to get Ataraxia's beads.
That was really clean. Zapman has to use his beads there. Raxia drops the boar. Oh man, the timing was great. He drops the boar while Zap is still CC immune. Oh, but watch that, you see? Yeah, you see. Mercury's here looking for the ult. There's the beads out of Ataraxia. Walks into the trap, but Zapman's behind, Sam's up in front, and Ataraxia's down on the bottom. Here comes Trixtank though. And it's a 3v1. Trix, I don't think you want to be here. Hebo's on the bottom.
Yeah, but Sam for Soccer is up at the top, and he's going to get crushed right as he lands. QvoFred slamming straight into him with that Habwa ultimate. And NeilMah and Zapman should just be happy they're able to get out of there alive as well. Beautiful turn and burn from Trixtank as well. Understood that he's able to absorb the blow of that last breath out of NeilMah and prevent Zapman from being able to clean things up.
You know, I think there's a world where players are a little bit kind of expecting that to happen, but even still, Zapman and everybody winds up making it go. And looking at when Trixtank jumped on in, that almost looked like it was a little bit too late. You already lost your teammate. Why are you jumping in? But because he knew he had a squad on the rotation, the Naja play works out.
That play started for Ataraxia, though, the moment that Zapman mounted archery into him.
Yes.
You know immediately as an Artemis what's coming next. It's always going to be the Sonic Boom from the Mercury from straight downtown of the tower line. And Ataraxia was ready for it. He even had the preemptive beads, I'm pretty sure, almost the second, if not even slightly before that Sonic Boom connected. It's just sometimes even the best types of peel for yourself aren't going to be enough when that board is down.
Yeah, and again, I was talking about the timing. Zapman comes on the horse where he's CC immune. And then as soon as he drops, he gets stunned by the boar, forcing his own beads out. NeilMah addressing QvoFred. Walks away, no problem. Ping's coming out, though. A lot of vision from SK Gaming on the enemy side of the jungle. They really want to know where the enemy team is at all times. And they're going to get that information thanks to some strong ward placement.
Something else to talk about, though, is I know during the drafting phase, it was kind of interesting seeing Zapman opt for the Hachiman over the Jingwei or the Freya. I think SK knew that they wanted an aggressive draft. And
right.
Zapman taking the Hachiman was probably the best type of hunter he could have selected for what SK are trying to accomplish here in this match. You need something that can soft initiate if need be, but also a clean execution type style of play just in case things do go south. And I love the survivability option that Zap has as well with this Hachiman. It's going to be great for helping him escape the Bellona and the Habwa.
I also think it's going to be a pick that can assist them in burning down objectives. Nothing's going to match the Merlin capability there. Hurriwind has the Merlin. That's why he's first picked at this point, to be honest with you. The protection shred from the fire stance and the amount of damage you're able to export to objectives specifically is really high. And so Hachiman, like I said, it's not going to match Merlin, but just having that banner available, Mercury with banner is pretty nutty as well. So it's a way to sort of answer back to what Dignitas has brought with a little bit of the same idea.
But for all that pressure that SK were trying to apply to Variety in the solo lane, he's still wound up just slightly ahead of Belair, and Sam for Soccer even hitting level 12 now, but about in the same boat as Belair as well, same, because they're both around half a level down. It's not a big deal just yet, but when the team fights start happening, it could be.
Belair going to jump over the knockup, that's good. And to go on to what you were, to pad on to what you're saying, Dignitas are up 500 gold, which means that's 1,000 gold swing from where SK had first blood before, and 500 gold, you're right, not a big lead. Half a level here, half a level there, not a big lead. But to see where it came from, that's a big swing, and two, no large objectives have been taken. So there's a lot to be said about how Dignitas have just been a little bit more efficient than SK Gaming in the first 13.5 minutes of our game.
It's like the first 3 minutes were impacted for Qvo and Variety, and then everything after that has just been not even really playing catch-up, but
Right.
I just feel like SK can't really impose themselves onto Dignitas nearly as much as they wanted to because of how much Trixtank has also been able to match these rotations from NeilMah.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is that I really like the composition from both of these teams. The assassin supports are very mobile, and so you matched the mobility with the mobility. If you see Serqet on one side and Sylvanas on the other, or Naja on one side and Kuma on the other, your Guardian is always going to be behind, maybe not golden experience-wise, but quite literally behind on the map as the assassin makes the rotations, as the Naja or the Serqet make the rotations. So I like the answer back there as well.
It's just so much of this is just going to boil down, I feel, to that singular team fight that so many of these competitive teams talk about dreading nowadays, because there are a lot of pros that tend to say, you know, even if you have an early game lead, it doesn't really feel like an early game lead, because when you get that kill bounty for the first turnaround fight,
Sure.
it just feels like everything can escalate immediately back into your favor from that point on. And I feel like that's essentially what SK is kind of already approaching. And I know that they're still trying to be aggressive. A nice purple buff invade for NeilMah. It's going to end up completely unpunished so far, but Trixtank and Qvo want more. Just don't think they're going to be able to find it.
We're gonna look though. Qvo shows himself on the left side, and so there won't be an outright scrum just yet. We'll have to wait a little bit longer.
But yeah, it's just like retouching back on like the whole ult situation. When I look at the solo laners, even Variety is going to be able to bring a lot of prots with the Eagles rally. Meanwhile, Belair, he's mostly just preventing a lot of healing to take place. But this isn't a sustained-based composition for Dignitas. This is just an Osiris that was meant to be unabashedly aggressive in solo.
And they're going to be aggressive here on the Gold Fury. Dignitas play aggressive, and they get it. You want to talk about burning down? We see the burn down of the objective and players as well. I mean, Hurriwind, Hebo, that's going to be kind of dangerous as Ataraxia gets a brief moment of heal, but dies very quickly after the fact. QvoFred shows up. I don't know about that, but Trixtank is here. But again, a little bit ambitious for the blue team.
Poor Sam, though, used those beads preemptively, assuming that the water spout would connect. And when you got a jungler like QvoFred that can threaten an ability landing, even if you miss it,
yeah,
that's pretty good.
And Hebo is one of the best characters at that. You walk in somebody's direction as Hebo, and they have to leave. A knock-up water cannon will do half of your health at later stages in the game. And even here, the boots, the Thoth, the Spear of Dezo, Hebo's hurt right now.
That's something that I've noticed, though, from SK, is that they're not holding back. When they go in, they're down to burn every single relic that they have, if it means possibly finding the kill that they were looking for, or even the escape. I know that there's been a couple of instances where they've needed to actually just get out of dodge, but for the most part, SK have had decently clean picks since about their third kill mark.
Yeah.
I'm just, again, not sure that it's really amounted to enough of a lead for them to feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, this is a non-lead. This is a 1,000 gold lead, 1,200, I guess, if you're precise. This is as close to a non-lead as you can get right now. I think at the end of the day, Dignitas are they're playing well. I think that SK Gaming need to really find something in their shoes, but realistically, they're down 1,000. It's not the end of the world.
Dig's just doing everything correctly. They're not giving SK anything to work with. They're basically saying, hey, if you guys want to run your kill comp, go for it, but you're going to have to find us yourselves or force it yourselves, because we're just not going to do anything that could throw ourselves grossly enough out of position for a kill. Ataraxia, like, the one punish that SK were able to truly find on him came after his team finishes a Gold Fury.
And that's kind of the key here for Dignitas, because I think that's very opposite of what their identity has been in the past. Like, we look at Dig, and they've just been all aggressive all the time. Here's another all aggressive all the time play. SK Gaming steal it. LOL.
Belair, still the guardian of the Pyromancer, apparently.
I don't know.
He walked up slowly.
He got his 25 gold, that's for sure. Pyromancer just like doesn't, or his 100 gold. Pyromancer doesn't really do it for me, Taco, I'll be honest.
Yeah, but it's like the alpha play from Belair. You got
That's
two
true,
people
yeah.
trying to burn the objective, and he just slowly walks up to it as Osiris and bops it on the noggin and take it.
I respect it.
Imagine if it's a fire giant instead.
That's true.
We've seen it happen so many times already, where these teams, and other thing too, I'm almost wondering if Dignitas is just waiting now until that enhanced fire giant actually hits, because I think it's going to be insanely tough for a comp like SK's to try and pull the enhanced fire giant, dance around with it, and then look to initiate into Dignitas. I just don't really think that they have enough sustain or survivability really inside of that pit. So if SK are going to try, or if Dignitas are going to try and take it to the fire giant pit for the fight, like we've seen so many times before with their past sets, SK, I'm not really sure how they're going to try to hope and come on that one.
I think SK really have to look at Ronnie. They've got to look at Belair to do a lot of the nonsense in the fire giant pit with Judgment Tether. Group up or jump into the players and Judgment Tether them down. And honestly, this is a classic hope Merc gets crit games. That's what you're praying for at the late game. You're just sitting there going, all right, they got a better team fight than us, but what if you just two-shot QvoFred? Because that's possible. So the SK Gaming are going to be playing, they're going to be like Hindu Man. They're the gambler.
Yeah, but what if Variety just decides that he wants to kidnap Sam for soccer forever and not let him do anything? Because that could also happen
Sounds
too.
like an episode of Criminal Minds. I don't know what you're talking about.
Variety is going to be all over Sam for soccer once those team fights break out.
Sure.
There's nothing that solo laners love more than stopping a jungler from being able to do anything. And I think that's just solo laners and support players in general.
Yep.
It's like, I don't even care if this gets me killed in the end, as long as I stop you in the
Can
process.
confirm. Absolutely. You would think I would play more support or solo. You know, it's funny, I'm like pretty good at support, but I just refuse to play it because, like, what am I, a peasant? Right side, QvoFred here. Jump for jump, easy, but Variety's still going to take the tower. QvoFred makes a call.
4 alpha shots to show that tower who's really boss.
SK Gaming pulling the Gold Fury. It's the Oni Fury this time around. Belair playing up front, and that's an easy one for SK. They zone Dignitas away pretty much no problem. Dignitas looking for the after fight, but not going to find it. NeilMah blinks away. Belair walks to the right, and Trixtank empty-handed and heavy-hearted. Not get the objective.
Yet, however, this could have been a little bit too deep for Trixtank even. Big Sonic Boom's going to catch out Ataraxia and QvoFred. Forces the beats, though, only from Qvo. And Dignitas are going to disengage off of SK's T1 tower. I don't think that Trixtank should have lived there, but hey, he's got the life RNG to do it.
SK Gaming are going to look towards their Tier 1 tower here in the mid. Fire Giant not even on the table as far as that's concerned. Dignitas now playing up, Variety. It's Belair just a little bit, but no real follow-up, and a very cautious situation here. Some moves being tossed out by Dig, but nothing here nor there.
It's just awkward for Dignitas because they knew right away that SK had more bodies at the Gold Fury, so they were going to have to give up that Oni for the time being, but since everybody did make the rotation eventually, Dignitas then wanted to push for that T1 tower in mid, but SK's defenses underneath their own tower, there's just a lot of hard CC that came all at once because it was so compacted in that area.
Right.
I'm really shocked that Trixtank managed to survive that one, and I honestly think it's only because Sam for Soccer tried to aggress onto Qvo and Ataraxia instead, which caused a lot more spreading of Dignitas way back.
If I'm SK Gaming, I am absolutely looking for the spread of Team Dignitas. They've got a teamfight composition that wants to play off of each other. Variety wants to jump on in and set up QvoFred for a knock-up ultimate combo, and Hurriwind will flame them down if they're still alive. Trixtank will do something similar for QvoFred. And Ataraxia is going to kind of be Ataraxia, so with that in mind, SK Gaming want to spread everybody out. QvoFred can't combine with Variety or Hurriwind if they're on opposite sides of the team fight. Same thing for Trixtank and Qvo, etc.
What? I think Belair just secured the Pyromancer again.
Hey man, he's got 200 gold now.
I know it might seem crazy to like pop off for a Pyromancer,
No,
but it's like it doesn't make sense. How did Variety lose that?
I'm being a little silly. I think you're absolutely right that while not worth much, the audacity of it, you know?
Just, it's okay. The thing about it is, like, from a player perspective, this is the player perspective, not like the analyst or the caster, but like when someone is just straight up out-lucking you on secure for an objective, that makes me uncomfortable when I actually want to go and pull the big objective. And we did just get confirmation it was Zapman who managed to steal that one away, but my point still stands.
SK take it, man.
SK keep taking these objectives.
And if you're going to keep rivaling these OBJs, like we call it, flipping the coin and hoping for the best, SK Gaming, everything seems to be coming up heads for them today. So I don't know if I'm gambling with these guys anytime soon.
That's what I'm trying to get at. That would make me feel weird. I would not feel cozy trying to 50-50 an objective with the Fire Giant.
No.
Then again, if I'm Dignitas, I'm probably just trying to kill everybody anyway inside of that Fire Giant pit.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Now that Qvo has his beads back up and running, I would expect Dignitas to try and be a little bit more ready to jump into the defensive positioning for these objectives. I think as long as Qvo doesn't have the beads, SK can kind of do a little bit more of what they want, because if Qvo tries to blink in to be aggressive, he's just going to get controlled and bodied.
Exactly. A big part of what he's going to do to try and stop that is by going the Thoth dead build. Book of Thoth is rarely what you want to do in the jungle, in my personal opinion. It takes a long time to really get going. But we've seen this time and time again, and now that it's paired with Book of the Dead on the Hebos, I mind it a little bit less. One, like we said earlier, you're not really looking for a level 3 or 4 gank out of the Hebo, unless you're extremely lucky. And two, I'd much rather see these items than an outright Breastplate of Valor or something.
If you're going for the jungle, go for the damage. You're typically better off going for the damage, just like Ataraxia. Glad that NeilMah doesn't have any damage. And love this patience from Ataraxia, knowing better not to use his beads or Aegis in a panic until he's actually threatened.
NeilMah is going a mask.
Could be a Boombas, but I'm expecting it to be a Lonos.
It better be a Lonos. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If you guys are wondering why I'm focusing on that, there's a small meta in the upper echelon of the ranked world in North America, which is basically Barnum and Bailey's circus. Everybody buys a Bumba's mask and goes 100 miles an hour.
Until Baskin picks Odin.
Right. Now, you might ask, how does it win? Well, that's because you can't kill anybody because they run away. And you know, I'd ask, isn't that worse than buying a regular item? Yes. But if everybody's zooming, that's how metas are
But it's
built.
really fun to be zooming. Like, you're saying all this now, but when you're the Chronos, taking off at light year speed, you're not laughing then. You're zooming.
The Bumba's mask, shield of regrowth, heal with accelerate.
You don't need to pay to go watch Sonic in theaters. Just play SMITE Ranked.
As soon as you lock in, the initial D music just starts playing. That's what you got to watch out for. So I do have an eye on that. Realistically, I think Lonos is the more competitive appropriate item, and but I think it's a kind of a funny illustration on how metas work, because I always say metas influenced by three things: changes to the game, changes to the players, and then just because. And so changes. Well, we'll discuss that in a moment as NeilMah walks away. When we look at meta changes, for example, changes to the game brought King Arthur up. King Arthur was introduced, and so he starts playing the game. Changes to the players, we see Camazotz and Achilles played to kind of answer that. And then kind of just because, I don't know, that's kind of where Poseidon shows up. People remember to buy Aegis, and then they forget, and he kind of comes in and out without being touched or as an answer to the meta. So kind of interesting watching this, your favorite streamers play their Bumba's mask builds and hope that NeilMah doesn't do it in a real game.
I have such a hard time picturing NeilMah opting for that. Because
you
Serqet
can't.
also has the true damage
Yep.
as well, so the low knows when you get hit for the damage reduction, Serqet not really having to worry about it as much as others. So definitely a prime support if you're going for the assassin support.
Trixtank is walking into what could be a slaughter. SK Gaming confirmed the vision on the Gold Fury, which is the Primal Fury this time around. And I think that's what they were focusing on. They really wanted to get those Harpies down and make sure they could see what was up.
Neither side really wants to let this Primal Fury go for free because that bonus buff onto the Fire Giant could wind up being a huge deal later on, especially for SK with their current composition. I mean, you really can't stress it enough.
Yeah.
This is just so all in from SK. I think that's also part of the reason why we see Belair opting for the Thorns as opposed to a Shell or even like a horrific sprint, some kind of team fighting relic, because SK probably understand that, hey, if we screw up in the slightest throughout any part of our engagement in the team fight, Dignitas are just going to turn it on us, and the level of burst damage that Dig has in comparison to SK from failed initiation, Dig would just slaughter.
It's very true. And also, I mean, it's easier to steal objectives with 7% extra damage.
That too. That's definitely gotta be playing a pretty big part of it. I know Qvo as well. He's essentially the pseudo secure for Dignitas. I know that they've got Hurriwind, but Merlin only really has that big one-shot burst ability in the ice stance. Otherwise, you're pretty much looking at Qvo to confirm it with one of his 3 ults.
And you want to be in fire stance anyway to strip those prots. SK Gaming walking into the Gold Fury pit, not pulling it just yet, just being around. Trying to goad somebody in here. Trixtank is local, but nobody's pulled his number just yet. QvoFred showing up to farm a little bit. Now here's the in. Belair gets knocked up in a little bit of water cannon, but Dignitas are ready for it.
Oh, nice.
There's the transformation, and nice disengage. Real clean from SK to get out of there.
Neil, though, got exactly what he was after, exactly what SK were after. They just need that crushing wave out of the way.
Yep.
The fact that Qvo could just come through and slap someone silly with one ult, it's just not worth risking.
They also got the beads out of Hebo. You got both, the beads and the ultimate. That's what you want. SK, walk away from that. Now they're continuing to look for the fight. Backside as Belair shows up, but Sanford Soccer dissects the team in 2 with a beautiful ult around the Y-axis. SK Gaming now trying to respond as the backline is in danger. Belair gets whipped, but he's going to be fine as he goes north. NeilMah will follow suit. Nobody dies. An all-out retreat from both squads.
And Belair just so glad that Neil was able to find those body blocks in the end to prevent Variety from continuing to auto him down in that scored stance. Is just not much. Dig was spread, and SK knew it, but Sanford Soccer and Zapman trying to take this Primal Fury, and they will be successful after the fight has ended. Can never be completely certain that a Mercury isn't going to just take the objective anyway.
And just like that, a lead change. SK Gaming had kind of garnered a 1,000 gold sort of differential, but I don't really like to talk about those. 3,000 gold differentials on the other hand, I'm certainly interested in.
But look at all those relics that have been burned from Dignitas' side of things in comparison to SK. The fact that Zapman still has both of his relics intact and Paul with an Aegis could be enough to heavily skew the next team fight into SK's favor. And I think they know it because this is a really early grouping for the Pyromancer. Belair coming straight from base to try and join up the rest of his team near this Pyromancer. But SK have got to act fast. They've got about a minute and a half, realistically, that they can still work in to try and find a really good pick onto Ataraxia or even Qvo.
NeilMah knocked up. Some damage dealt in his direction as well. Shifting over to the right side, Sanford Soccer battling Variety, and Variety is down half HP already. SK Gaming looking for more. They're not going to get it either. They're just going to have to walk on by.
But SK do have Mercury with a Deathbringer and a Rage. If they're left alone long enough, they can definitely chunk away at this Fire Giant. And Dignitas can't really afford to back off all at once.
That's kind of what I was saying with respect to Hurriwind's going to destroy those objectives early, but later be a different story. Belair followed up on by Variety, who's by himself. Sammy finds an exit left side. Variety now getting collapsed on, just like NeilMah, and the teams trade out. Support for Solo. SK Gaming now looking for more. Trixtank misses the ultimate as Dignitas tries to go deep, but it's Sam for Soccer. There's one, but two for QvoFred. 3 players dead in SK Pink, and the hail of arrows will give 3 to Ataraxia. And with 4 players in sleeping bags, Dignitas walking away. I don't think they can do the Fire Giant just yet, Taco, but they're trying to bring the game back to a tie state.
But that's the problematic Habwa burst, though, that SK have been dreading to try and fight into for so long. Perfect patience of Ataraxia, too, holding that boar until the very end when he figured everything's got to be down by now, right? They're on the full retreat. There's no way that Variety hasn't managed to strip away some of these relics. And Zapman never even got a chance to get his Aegis off.
Yep.
I don't think he was expecting Qvo to just full-on commit the Crushing Wave his way. And I'm not completely sure on this, but I feel like Zap might have been stuck in an auto-attack animation before he could press the Aegis.
Certainly could be the case. A little bit of a window, and Ataraxia with a bit of attack speed. Shout out to Silver Branch. Fire Giant will be looked at. NeilMah's going to show up, blinked in. Dignitas do get it, but the fight after the fact is just Neil and Sammy. Sam's playing it safe. Ultimate down the line. Belair from the right-hand side as he's TP'd in. Sam gets taken care of by the Artemis, and that could spell disaster. And it looks like it will. SK Gaming solo laner on a hair of HP. Left side, their support is getting toasted as well. Cook 'em, as Hindu Man would say. And Ataraxia gets kill number 6. Oh man, Dignitas, they were down, and now they are certainly looking to jump right back up. Tie game, lead change. Dignitas with the wind in their sails.
Risk first reward scenario there all the way through for San Francisco and NeilMah. And Neil, I respect the attempt in that kind of situation. I think that's the only real play to go for, because letting Dignitas get an enhanced Fire Giant without some form of contest in their type of composition versus what SK is running, I expect all of these Phoenixes to be sieged.
I say it all the time, and it seems like teams are very careful. I say, listen, in that situation, tie game, somebody needs to blink in and roll the dice. And as long as you don't team wipe and leave the game to the enemy, because I don't think Dignitas can win off of this. Sam's already up. They're pushing left side, they're going to get it. But SK Gaming can defend and play into this. But you're right, I don't fault Neil for playing over aggressive there. Maybe Sammy didn't have to die, but I like the decision to go there. SK come up empty, but hey, I will support that decision.
Neil had already committed, and I think the gamble there for SK is to maybe try and convince Dignitas that, hey, we've got more backup on the way, so you guys should just run and let us pick one of you through the separation of the chaos. But Qvo, Ataraxia, they just weren't having any of it. They just turned right back around and said, hey, if you want to punch into us, we'll punch right back.
Which is old school Dignitas. Variety, Qvo, and Trixtank were on this team for the past 2 years, and in its 3rd year, they lost their carry and their mid laner. They replaced them with Ataraxia and Hurriwind. And a lot of what Variety, QvoFred, and Trixtank did with their old roster was just, we used to make a joke about it, because old Epsilon used to do this, where it just felt at a certain point in the game, they went, all right, we're going to win now. And they would make a concerted effort to do that.
Well, unfortunately for Hurriwind, his team's been doing such a fantastic job. He really has not had to participate all that much this game.
40% of the kills. There's just not that many kills.
There's just, well, there's not that many kills, but like, honestly, what more can Hurriwind really do when everyone's pretty much already dead because of Qvo or Ataraxia?
Hurriwind looks like...
He's just waiting. He's waiting for his chance to like actually play the Merlin that's always banned against them.
Well, they just showed the camera. Hurriwind looks like he's been living with Donnie Darko for 12 years. He just looks so defeated and tired.
Probably wants a piece of the action, man. His team just stops it before you can even get there.
But see, I think this is the revealing the higher level of what Merlin really does. Because at the end of the day, you know, when we play our casual games and we play our ranked and platinum or whatever, you're going, oh yeah, Merlin's just good. But what is good about Merlin? Merlin's ability to shred objectives is by far his most dominating ability, and that's exactly what Hurriwind's been doing. Dignitas have gotten a number of objectives. SK have stolen some, but they've looked good.
Paul, though, not looking too good, being forced back into the fountain already. Right Phoenix heavily under siege by Dignitas. Ataraxia is going to make sure that it goes down, and Belair will follow suit. Salute to you, sir, for your attempt to try and save it.
Who cares about your thorns? Hunters always complain about thorns. Belair activates thorns. Ataraxia stands still and just goes pop, pop, pop. And the Osiris falls down. Oh my goodness. Ataraxia, no fear.
And all
No
three
fear.
Phoenixes right at the very ending of that enhanced fire giant buff have been sieged. And the worst part about it all is that that right Phoenix siege just came so much later than the other two that SK are going to constantly have to toggle between managing fire minion waves or looking to defend the enhanced fire giant. But I think that SK's best bet for turning this game back into their favor is to try and fight it at the enhanced fire giant. But how do you leave your base when so many fire minions are going to be headed for it?
That's exactly the problem, is that SK Gaming essentially have been assigned homework, is the euphemism I use a lot. They've got to just stay home. They can't go out and party. They got to stay home and take care of these fire minions. So it's they've got their work cut out for them. You saw Doug highlighting some of the stats on Ataraxia earlier. He's bought the Silver Branch Bow, and in typical Ataraxia fashion, is a very unconventional item. And so he's at the attack speed cap. He's not over it. 2.5 when he activates the steroid, 2.3 when he's a little bit below. So he's not getting a lot of power, but the stats are still strong.
I think he could probably swap it out for an Aussie if he so desires, but it's working for him now, and if he really enjoys the attack speed that it provides, then, I mean, I can't really fault him when he's 7-2-2. I mean, the man's been a part of 9 out of 11 kills. He's clearly capable of dealing plenty of player damage out of the team fights that have occurred. So I can't really find too many issues with the Silver Branch in its current spot. I think that if he was feeling more threatened from the Thorns out of Belair, he would opt for the Aussie, but because no one's really been able to touch him from SK outside of Neil and Belair suiciding to get their ults on him, I don't think he has anything to worry about.
Good positioning from Ataraxia. NeilMah blinks to the back, largely by himself, and Sam shows up a little bit late to help out, but both of them now below 40%. Tank takes one to the sky, and the whole team will be waiting for him at the bottom, and the not-so-scary D falls down. Belair trampled. Mid-Phoenix respawned and re-killed.
So like I was saying, outside of Belair and Neil suiciding to try and attack him, Dignitas have just been doing everything right this match. They didn't give SK anything to work with. SK tried to make some plays happen, but at the end of the day, this Titan's going down.
I will say, though, game number 1 goes to Team Dignitas. I will say that watching SK Gaming in the early and mid game was really enjoyable. I think that they brought their game. I think that they were able to kind of provide some stoppage. And Tago, I'll be real, Dignitas win this game, and they certainly look like they deserved it. But look at Hurriwind. That was not as easy as Dignitas or their fans might have expected it to be.
No, it was definitely a little bit shakier in the early game, without a doubt. I mean, SK were definitely being proactive enough to find or to force some of those picks. It's just that I think Dignitas did an excellent job because of the fact that they were constantly responding to those picks with either one of their own or a buff or an objective elsewhere. And even though for a minute it seemed as if the Gold League was going to, like, go straight into SK's favor because they started getting those Oni Furies, the Primal Fury, the Pyromancer steals. I mean, it looked cool in the process, but I think that SK just needed a little bit more of an actual front line. I just don't think that the Serqet and the Osiris was enough.
I agree. A lot of times the team just wasn't able to really collapse all at the same time, but Belair just repeatedly looked like he jumped in and just died. Wasn't really any help there. So a little bit change on the picks and bans perhaps, and maybe some more attention. But again, SK kind of rising up to the occasion and providing Dignitas with some opposition that I don't think Dignitas was expecting. 1 game in the books already. The black and yellow have it. Let's go to the desk.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Taco. We'll break down that game for you. And that was a lot of time for Dignitas to come away with a win in the end, right?
Yes.
And SK did look good in the early game. I think they were able to play around Neil Serqet very well. Sam Forsaka on the Mercury as well was very active, but they never really created any distance between them and Dignitas.
No, exactly. Dignitas just kind of tread water in that game, I'd say is the right way to put it. And SK did have a little bit of the pace setting and the momentum, if you will. But I think SK also did a pretty good job of treading water in their own right. You know, once Dignitas started throwing punches, SK was able to get on the defensive, throw some counter punches, stay in the game pretty well. But Dignitas just ends up looking so comfortable in these long games.
Yes.
I mean, they look like they're right at home in
Except
games
for
just
Hurriwind.
like this.
Yeah, like he had that look on his face like I don't know, like he'd been in several wars and you don't know the things he'd seen. That was on his face, but in game, I think it was still very certainly comfortable on this Merlin. And he didn't have maybe quite the same impact we expect from our Merlins nowadays to be like way up there in the player damage charts and things like that. But he was certainly doing his job for the team. And what Dignitas did that I really just thought stood out is kind of as you alluded to, it was just patience. Neil would initiate in, he's like, I want to get Ataraxia's beads, and Ataraxia would just hold on to them patiently, knowing he was under that much trouble, and save them from when he was actually in trouble when Sam would come in.
Exactly. Ataraxia played this game beautifully, and you really have to be good on the defensive if you're playing Artemis at this level.
Yeah.
You're going to need that help at times in that peel, but a lot of times Ataraxia just found his windows and ended up playing these fights really well. And that's the level of excitement that he's had all year long, and when you've been playing as well as he has, I can't blame him. 8-2 for the Hunter.
Yeah, very good game for him on the Artemis, and showing some of what can make her strong. Branching out into the silver branch, I couldn't avoid that. That's with a slight pause. I was like, how do I not do it? Unfortunately,
it's too late.
Yeah,
You've already started skidding on the road, and the brakes aren't helping you now.
Yeah, I never stood a chance, really, and I ended up having to pick that up. But you can see sort of what I'm talking about, right? 16,000 damage in 40 minutes from Hurriwind on the Merlin. You certainly wouldn't write home about that, but that was the texture of the game. You know, he was getting a lot of pressure from Sam, and they weren't fighting a ton, so he just kind of stayed back and did his thing.
I mean, this whole game was sleepy at times, I would say, but methodical overall. And I think that in-depth SMITE fans probably really enjoyed watching the way that both of these teams played the map.
I think so.
Really were intelligent about giving up objectives. Belair, by the way, with a couple Pyromancer steals that were very nice, with a couple Spirit Flails. That kept SK's momentum rolling, I think, through the mid-game where it looked like Dignitas was going to start to shove it towards their own end. But this was an impressive victory for Dignitas, and this is the type of victory that Dignitas wants. Slow, we kind of grind you out, we bleed you out of the game, and then we're down to make this whole thing go down to one team fight. Sure, we'll take those odds. and Dignitas just hasn't lost a lot of those game deciding team fights yet.
And this feels like Dignitas kind of knew what SK were going to do. If SK want to come in and they're to put Neil on a Serqet and put Paul on Raijin and Sam on Mercury and try and bully us around that early to mid game, then Dig were 100% ready for that. It felt like here in this game. They bent but didn't break. They never really felt like to me they were under that much duress in this game, which makes me think that SK might need to try and adapt quickly. I don't know if you can just go back to the drawing board and say, let's try and bully them around again, because clearly this Dignitas squad, if this was MMA, they're okay with giving up that center circle, right? Which is a lot of the ways how you measure who has control. They're like, okay, maybe you had control, but you're never going to knock me out, and then I'll be the one that wins on decision later on, or something like that.
Exactly. That's the exact same type of way that Dignitas likes to play. They're very flexible. They're very smart at giving up what they can give up, and then contesting the things they need to contest. And to me, that screams of good coaching. That Biggie has been there for this team for a very long time, has really risen into the premier coach in the SPL in my mind. I think Biggie's the cream of the crop right now.
I think so too. He's really high up there. But to be fair, it also takes someone who's willing to listen to the coach. There were some rumblings that some good Dimmy coaching maybe fell on deaf ears last year, right? So that's out there depending on whether or not they're able to actually put it into action. So I'm glad that Dignitas are not only getting good coach, but able to put it into action for them too. And it's got them 5-0. You don't get there by accident, I don't think.
No.
Not against these good of teams. And Dignitas are going to keep that going here in game number 2.